Right, so I think Stryker is leading today's interview. So you guys know, and you guys have been asking me to bring in somebody that, besides myself, that knows anything about dogs, and I don't know anything about dogs, except I'm a dog lover. So I brought my boy Robert in. Robert is, in my opinion, a true expert, not just because of the knowledge, but the experience and time you've done this.
Yeah.
So please tell the fans and everybody about yourself and just a little background.
Well, I started with dogs when I was born. My family always had dogs and stuff, but I really got into dogs probably about 15 or so years ago when I was living in Nashville, and I had this dog. I loved this dog. This dog's name was Silly, his Sharpei. I was just telling you about him. And I went on accident to the shelter. I was just dropping off a 50-pound bag of food, another 50-pound bag of food, and then I opened that back door and I went in and changed my life forever. I saw that these dogs, they lived in these really crappy conditions. People gave up on them, and I just couldn't fathom why people gave up on them. And like you, I was in martial arts since I was 13, and actually since I was a lot younger, but formally since I was 13. And I said, somebody needs to fight for these dogs. And I started Bound Angels, this organization, and going to shelters, teaching people about canine behavior, about health, about how to handle dogs that people couldn't handle, that didn't understand behaviors and stuff like that. And I just kept going with all that stuff. I mean, I trained competitive obedience, I trained protection dog sports, I trained just about every breed of dog, from the easiest, sweetest, softest dogs like Teddy to the hardest, most aggressive, most dangerous dogs in the world. Everything in between, titled dogs, competed with dogs, and most of all, really though, it's just about loving dogs. You know, like, you know that, I mean, that's your thing. And it's just, when you get that love, you will never get that love from another creature. Because it's a speechless love. Like, you know, when we love our wives or our mothers or our children, we can communicate with them. This is the only cross-species communication that is really known per se, the bond we have with dogs. So that's my mission in life, and that's what I'm doing.
I've known you for a while now, and something that I love is that your energy. I know you guys may not get it now, but your energy is always positive. It's very kind, and I know a little bit about your background, and I know that you've studied, and you've not only studied, but you've done security and protected people and stuff like that. So I love that. I always talk about the aspect of the toughest guys I've ever met and the strongest guys I've ever met always have an incredible balance to, if they need to, can go somewhere to be, take care of themselves. But then they come down even below an average level to be even extra kind to people. And I noticed that with you and others, and I just want to say I've always respected that. Because I know what you can do, and I just love it. I'm not the kind of guy that likes those guys that walk around and they're always, oh, I'm so tough, and I'm so tough, and it's like, relax. And so
they're hiding something.
They're hiding something. So I appreciate that aspect of it. And then I also watch and I follow you on Instagram, and I'm going to give everybody the information so you can follow them. All the extra charity work and the giving time you do to the animals, and I love that. Both me and Mona.
Thank you. Thank you.
But I want to talk to you today about a couple things. Stryker's starting to get up there, and we noticed that she's starting to put on weight. So recommendations, obviously, a little bit more exercise, maybe.
I mean, I look at it. You know, different metabolisms are different on different dogs. So I always look at everything. There's no rules, right? Just like in life, and I follow you as well. There's no set rules to anything in life. Life, like the Tao says, is ever changing. And our hero, Bruce Lee, you and I had the exact same heroes, Bruce Lee and Arnold Schwarzenegger. The only problem was you were like in amazing shape. I came to this country from Germany, and I got my ass kicked every single day, which is why I like martial arts. But everything is ever changing. So what's good for a dog today may not be good for them tomorrow. And we have to be open to that zen of life, that ability to compromise and to change with them. If not, we're stagnant and we die. So dogs, sometimes their metabolism can change. Like I fed my dogs raw diet for years, only raw chicken backs, raw rabbit with vegetables and supplements and stuff like that. Then I noticed suddenly my Malinois, my boy, started losing a lot of weight. He was real skinny and everything started changing. His fur was dull. And I said, well, let's change it up. Let's get him a really good quality kibble. And I switched him over to a kibble. Boom, dynamically it changed. Because
Wow, you'd think it'd be the other way.
well, a lot of times what happens when you're doing raw food, which is what I would prefer to do, because I know I like to eat myself what I see. That's a piece of broccoli, that's a fish, that's an egg. I know what that is. I don't like things mixed together. And I think you're a purist in your diet too. So same thing with dogs. The problem with kibble is you've got to trust. And I'm not a trusting guy when it comes to that stuff, you know. So I look at it and I go, okay, are they really putting good
What they're
quality
saying,
proteins
right,
in it,
yeah.
you know? And I mean, I never buy food that's, you know, mass produced. I don't like it. But with raw food, the problem you end up having is you can't get the calories. So if you have it the other way, you want to lessen the calories and still have the nutrition, then you go to more of a raw-based food.
So it's good. It's a good idea for us to go from the kibble to the raw.
Sure. Yeah.
At this stage for her,
Yeah.
to make sure. Hip, obviously hip is huge with bigger dogs.
Bigger dogs, yeah.
Recommendations, and my question though is not recommendations when the hips are starting to go bad.
Yeah.
What is preventative?
Exactly. Same thing with us. Like, you know, once they start to go bad, then they're on the downward spiral. So I like glucosamine, chondroitin, MSM, and all those supplements right early on. I mean, like basically when they're a couple of years old, start getting it into them. Start building something so that when it comes time to tear it down, it takes a lot longer to tear down a 100-story building than it does a tent. So that's
my
what I say.
philosophy of training. So I love that you said that.
Yeah. So it's the same thing with our dogs. You know, we don't want to create a monster. Like people start taking dogs and they start over-exercising them because they say it's going to tire them out, but it doesn't. It just creates a monster. So the harder I work out, I'm not going to get exhausted. I'm just going to get stronger.
And cardiovascular gets better, and now they can play for 4 or 5 hours.
Yes, yeah. So now you've got a monster that you can't keep in your house. So I say, if you've got a dog that you really are not going to give that much exercise to, start to dial them into that, you know, and get them used to the life they're going to have. That's really it. I mean, the life this dog has, I mean, because of your lifestyle, is amazing. Like a lot of people can't give a dog that lifestyle. They would work 10 hours a day, and that's why I say a lot of times, it sounds so wrong for a guy like me to say this, but I don't think most people should have dogs. You know, I don't think they deserve the love that dogs give because they're not giving it back. You know, and the problem is we have mass amounts of dogs that, you know, with Bound Angels, I'm in the shelter, I was there all week, I told you. I see thousands of dogs being killed for no reason other than people don't have time. You know, and it's the worst thing you can imagine. A guy like us going into a shelter and going,
So I wanted to be a vet when I was growing up.
oh wow.
Yeah. Was the idea.
Uh-huh.
It quickly changed
Yeah.
when my dad says, well, you're going to have to see the sick ones and you're also going to have to put some to sleep that are, and I said, okay, that's out.
Yeah.
I'll stay with bodybuilding, cover shots, traveling the world, giving lectures.
Right.
I'll do that one
Right.
instead.
Right.
I'll keep my dogs. Now let's jump over to Teddy.
Yeah.
I know this is just going to make you cringe.
Uh,
So Teddy, I call my like little power lifter. If you guys don't know the story of Teddy and Bunny, is I was called for the Millennium cover for Muscle and Fitness, and I'm like, holy cow, the Millennium is the biggest cover in decades. And Joe Weider called me and says, well, I want you on the cover.
wow.
Wow, out of everybody in the world you could pick, he picked me.
Right.
So I'm like 100%. So I go to this photo shoot and I'm excited, and they bring in these 2 little puppies, and barely 6 to 8 weeks old at the time. And so I shoot with these 2 little puppies all day long.
Right.
And at the end of the shoot, they go, all right, we're going to take them back to the pound. Now, how long is it since you've heard the pound?
Right.
It's been 18 years.
Yeah.
Right?
At least.
Yeah, a pound is basically a shelter that,
Kills dogs.
puts them to sleep within a week. So I said right then and there, I thought these were somebody's puppies.
Yeah.
And they go, no, they're just props. And we picked them this morning at the shelter. I said, here's a couple $100, probably more than I made for the cover.
Right.
And I said, I'm taking them home. And they're like, really? And I said, yeah. And I took them home, and they've been with me ever since. And they've actually been through the hardest stages and the hardest things I've ever gone through in my life, losing my dad, and then losing my mom. So they represent so much.
Yeah.
They represent, almost 20 years of my life.
Yeah.
So, so back to the nutrition for these guys. That's the story of it, and that's why she means so much to me. She's been with me longer than most relationships and marriages.
And better.
So she has always bulked up with me in a sense. And I know you're gonna hate and this is gonna cringe, but this kind of goes back to the philosophy of what they become used to or what they are capable of and the strength of it. She's always had an appetite. And so she would eat well, she'd eat the chicken, she'd eat the rice and stuff like that, but she would also have the high days with me with the pizza, or she'd have the In-N-Out burgers and stuff like that. And she's kept that appetite, and she's kept that appetite all the way up till she is still now.
Right.
That she'll still get an incredible amount of nutrients and calories. And I think that's one of the key reasons that she's still moving. I'm not saying I endorse a pizza, In-N-Out burger diet for the puppies, but it's interesting to see that keeping a high calorie base for the dogs, and if they're still active and they're still moving, can adapt to that and to stay healthy and long.
And it just depends on the dog too.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, again, like us, like I eat a lot. You eat a lot. You're bigger than me, but it's depends on your thing. But what I would say is really important. What you said is you vary things with your dogs. So you give them the chicken and the rice, but then you give them a slice of pizza here, or an In-N-Out burger there. The purest form, when you get into this really purest form, no, I'm only going to give them the most organic, most perfect. Their bodies become, I think, almost weakened because they don't have that once in a while that little negative thing that makes them fight past that fat or that sugar or whatever, where you got to overcome that stuff, right? Like life is, like we want to raise ourselves and be happy and this and that. When I was teaching karate, everybody wanted their kids to have this amazing life. I said, they're not going to grow if you don't give them adversity. If you don't let them fail, they don't learn how to succeed. And it's the same with dogs.
Oh, see, I love that. We're incorporating life into this, ladies and gentlemen. You guys thought it was all about dogs. This is about life. And I love that you say that because that goes back to training. If you're always in a deficit when you're training, you're breaking down your body constantly.
Right.
You need to come around in times and go back to foundation and feed your body again, give it some breathing room, and then back down. And then with anything, getting ready for a tournament or powerlifting meet or bodybuilding or whatever you're doing, there's stages of it where you move forward.
Right.
You start slow, more. Are you wanting to run out of here? She's like, I'm done, I want to go to the park.
Exactly.
So we're gonna just keeping her moving.
Yeah.
Keep her going. She's hanging in there.
That's the key thing. Movement.
Look at that smile. I don't know if you guys my baby. Aww. Well, we got a couple young ones that are absolutely bonkers. Obviously, you guys haven't seen the couches, but there's a reason why there's towels on the couches. We're not getting new couches until they get out of that phase. Give us like your 3 tips for puppies, to get them out of that 9. Anything below the waist, I say, is free reign for them. Shoes and.
Well, I'll tell you what I do. I believe in immense structure for dogs, just like people, right? I mean, I think the mistake people make, they say, well, he's a puppy, let him be a puppy. Like so many times I get issues with people saying,
Mona is happy you just said that.
Oh, really? Okay, good. Okay, I got 1 point.
I'm not.
I think people let puppies get away with a lot of stuff, and then they try to solve it when the dog becomes a dog.
Too late?
It's too late. And it becomes unfair. So the old school of training, I'll give you a great idea, is when people used to take German Shepherds, they would train, they'd say, you know what, let the puppy be a puppy, let whatever's going to happen, and then on its 12th month, birthday, we're going to have the day of reckoning. And then they would put a pinch collar on it and yank the crap out of the dog and get the dog to pay attention. So those people were competing, right? And their dogs would heel, and they would down, and they would sit, and they would bite, and they would do everything they need to in competition. But they did it like they were beaten into doing it, right? So these other people came along and they said, well, let's just try something different. Let's take a dog at 8 weeks old and take hot dogs and cheese and treats and motivate the dog to do the right thing and give it a couple corrections here and there, and then layer it with a bunch of abundant, positive, fun, cool things, and let the dog learn through structure, through yin and yang, through good and bad, what they should learn. And these dogs would go in competition and destroy these other dogs, because when they were healing, they were like happy and they were doing things like, I'm happy, I want to do this, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. And the whole dynamic to dog training changed.